cocaine doesn't bring me happiness. Help me. Please, God, help me.
Yeah.
Which is, it is interesting to see that evolution. And now, like, with DAWNFM, I don't know where you go from there. You know, like, I don't know what's the because he's talking about this is a trilogy.
Yeah.
Because you can't go more pop than that. So I'm just like, I don't know what the next sound is.
But you don't know how he sees it in his mind. Because obviously After Hours, it's a mix of like the moody R&B and pop.
It feels like the pop version of Trilogy to me.
That's
what I always consider it. Whereas stuff like Beauty or Starboy or even Melancholy, I don't view like that.
Right, yeah.
Whereas to me, I think the reason it clicked so much with people because it was like, here's my old sound but cleaner. You know what I mean? It's a bit more refined.
Yeah, kind of.
It's still like the same subject matter, but it just feels a bit less. Well, you're like, fuck, man.
And
you
then
need to sort out your life.
Obviously, DAWNFM is pop with hints of his old themes.
Yeah,
it's
like upbeat music that is dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you look at the lyrics, you're like,
theme.
oh, this is quite dark. Yeah, and especially the theme of it being like purgatory almost.
But then it's like, you say that, then what if the third album is fucking dark?
Yeah, it could
he's
be.
saying
I mean,
afterlife.
that,
if it is like this idea of afterlife.
Well, and if I'm supposed to take any stock in Every Angel is Terrifying, where he's like graphic, sexy,
provocative.
Like maybe it is some dark, booky. Like I don't know. I'm just saying if it's because when you tell me heaven, afterlife, I think of like pure pop. But he's already done that with this last album, so I don't know.
But how do you know he's going to heaven?
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just saying if it is that, I don't know how it will progress. Because the thing you said about this album that I agree with is like, it's short, but if it was any longer, I think it would overstay its welcome.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm like, I don't think you can do another album, especially this 80s sound.
See, I agree and I disagree. I think the sound isn't the issue. It's the way he uses the sound.
Yeah.
Because After Hours and DAWNFM, even though overall they're using the 80s aesthetic, they are different.
Oh, 100. I don't agree with people that say After Hours is an 80s album. Like, I don't see it. Outside of Blinding Lights.
There's an inspiration, but I don't think DAWNFM is like an 80s.
That's what I'm saying.
Pure.
That is what DAWNFM is. Like, it is an 80s throwback sound. Modernized, obviously. It's not just the 80s, but the influences there, whereas... there's synths on After Hours, but I don't listen to it and think of the 80s outside of Blinding Lights, really, or... Yeah, I mean, like, I don't listen to Alone Again and think of, like, oh, yeah, this reminds me of the 80s, man. You know what I mean? Like, it don't really have the same clear influence.
Right.
Like, as I said, I get it. The synths, the sound is inspired... But it's not quite as just here's the 80s.
No, of course. It's like
Dawn was.
It's like Too Late is basically a melancholy song. When you deep it.
I mean, quite a few on that. I feel like Alone Again is.
Yeah.
I mean, even After Hours, the song feels very classic Weeknd. It's very long. It's quite dark. Like that's one of the dark songs on there. Where it's like Put Myself to Sleep.
It's just where the main singles. Like, In Your Eyes, Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, they are a throwback sound. Yeah. Which is why I think people view it as
But the thing with them is I don't feel like it's just the 80s, because you have, like, with Save Your Tears, that feels more like 2000s to me. You know what I mean? Like a bit like, I always compare it to Summer Games of Scorpion. They feel very, like, 2000s throwback sounds.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Whereas Blinding Lights reminds me of, like, that... Is it Aha? What's that song?
Take On Me.
Take On Me. You know, it's that sound.
No, 100%, yeah.
Whereas I
same with In Your Eyes, though.
Yeah,
like
In Your Eyes
a
is very...
throwback.
Yeah, the saxophones. But, yeah, it's a very strange album, because it also feels a lot... you know, he always compared Kissland to it's a horror movie. It's fucking frightening. To me, After Hours is that realized.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's partly because of the music videos. So many of them are so like horror influenced. Like In Your Eyes is a fucking Halloween reference. Too Late is like that weird, like the two chicks where they fucking killed the guy.
They have his severed head.
Reminds me of Goodnight Mummy, where she's got the fucking bandages on her face. Like maybe that's part of what's influenced, but just the subject matter of like it's way too late to save our souls. Like everything about that album feels dark. You know, the album starts with like Alone Again, where it's like took too much, I don't want to die. You know, it feels like a bad trip.
But that's the thing. It feels when the album dropped, I was like, this feels like a stretched out Melancholy.
Definitely.
Where it's like,
because I remember our big thing was we want Melancholy the
bigger.
Album.
Yeah, which I think
or
After Hours is.
Or whatever he was. Cause
it like takes the blend of the moodiness, the pop sound, and it kind of stretches it out.
Because I do think this idea of doing a second trilogy has been with him for a while. Because I remember when Melancholy dropped, he was teasing that like there's going to be a part 2 to Melancholy. And then obviously it turned into After Hours. But I think this idea of doing a trilogy part 2 has always been with him.
I mean,
you know, I don't know what...
It's just weird that he went with the 80s sound.
Yeah, as I said,
to make it
I mean, the Weeknd is an artist I don't assume to know what his next sound is going to be. Because he's surprised me at every time. After Beauty... You got Starboy surprised me.
Yeah.
After Starboy, Melancholy surprised me. After Melancholy, After Hours, it shouldn't have, but it did still surprise me. Yeah. Maybe because it was an album I thought was going to go right back to Starboy. I thought he was going to be like a Drake, where it's like, okay, every album is going to be a bit messy, a bit overlong, and you just pick the songs you like and go from there.
Yeah.
And then even after Hours to Dawn, I mean, I think we both had the first...
Well, yeah,
first reaction to Dawn, where we were like, what the fuck is this?
When I first listened to Dawn, I was like, this is like mediocre. I was like, I don't know like what the vision was here. And then second listen, I was like, yeah, this is amazing.
I was gonna say
like,
it clicked. But yeah, same. First listen, I was like...
And like you said, I think it's just because I didn't expect it.
Definitely.
I didn't expect him to go...
Which or finish that thought before I...
No, I was gonna say, I didn't expect him... I wouldn't say regress, but it's like... The moodiness from After Hours is taken out, and it's just replaced with it's the emphasis on the whole pop upbeat type of sound, but the overall theme of the album is still dark.
I was gonna say that's
which is what I like.
Thing. I see a lot of people say this is the Weeknd's most hopeful, uplifting album, and I'm like, but if you listen to it,
but that's what it
ends with Less Than Zero, which is like. I'm a fuck up, you're never gonna love me.
And then the outro with Jim Carrey is like
you go
fucking dark.
I mean, just the whole idea of this is a radio station you hear when you're dying.
And when you look at it from that concept, it works perfectly.
I will say I still need to listen to it after Hours, because he's saying this is truly. I want to hear them together and see how the story... Right. Because After Hours has a story and DAWNFM has a story. I want to see how they link.
Yeah, I will say I think Dawn is more cohesive than After Hours.
Cohesive, yes. But After Hours tries a lot more.
It tries a lot more, but... in
it's
a way...
Also a bit longer, to be fair.
It is longer. It is longer. Especially if you include the deluxe.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. It's when you listen to DAWNFM, it feels like it goes by so quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is like a positive.
And it has that thing where you listen to one song and you want to listen to the rest.
It just flows so well.
Yeah, it's an interesting album. I'm interested to see how I feel about it. Like, because it's about a month since it dropped, and obviously I'm very positive on it at the moment. I want to see how I'll feel in 6 months after it drops. Sort of thing, like as time goes on, how is my feelings gonna sort of evolve with this album? Whereas often I feel like I hear an album and that's it, that's my thoughts on it these days. You know, it's very rare, especially as dramatically as it changed with DAWNFM, where I went from like I don't really care for this to man, I fucking love this.
Yeah,
you know,
literally.
I listened to a review Dead End Hip Hop, Mike Seatown. I really like his opinions on a lot of music, even though I don't really agree most of the time. I think he like articulates himself really well. And with Weeknd, he said, like, this album, after I heard After Hours, this isn't the sound I wanted.
Right.
But the sound he's done here is like flawless. And I 100%
You know what?
agree
Yeah,
with that.
I agree with that
Like,
as well. Yeah.
I after I heard After Hours, I wasn't like, just give me an 80s album.
Yeah, pure.
But hearing it, it's like, man, I like, for what he aimed to do, this is flawless.
Well, that's what I mean, because when you first hear it, you're like, I don't know if this is the direction I wanted. But like you said, when you listen to it the second and third time, you're like, you can't deny, like, the music is so good, you forget about that.
Which is funny, because this is definitely his most controversial album since Kissland. Because Beauty was like acclaimed when it dropped. Starboy, okay, like, as time went on, people kind of turned on that album, but when it dropped, it was enormous. Everyone loved it.
It was.
And Melancholy, people loved. After Hours, people loved. This was the first Weeknd album in a long time where it's dropped, or project in a long time where it's dropped, and people have kind of been like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
And then you've seen the kind of, a bit like with Kissland, you've seen people revisit it and
over time. They're like, you know what?
Which is funny, because he kept comparing it to Kissland in his interviews, and I don't think stylistically it's
no, Kissland. But the idea that the music is so good, you can't deny. Like, you have to just accept, like, this is quality.